Hi everyone. In this video I am going to go over how to calculate variable overhead variances. We're going to go over two variances in this particular problem. Alright, so over to the board. Here's what I did. I summarized these formulas. Okay, this summary for the formulas will make it easier, especially if you have a question that gives you a ton of numbers and it's only looking for one particular piece. Okay, so you will follow this equation that I'm going to go through, the summary of the equations. For direct materials, we'll change it a little bit for that. Direct labor and variable overhead variances. The good news is variable overhead variances and direct labor variances will be this exact same summary. Okay, so look, let me show you how you do it. All right, so your first column will be hours. Okay, so notice this, hours, hours, hours. So hours always comes first. Your second will be rate. Rate, rate, rate. Rate always comes first. Okay? All right, your first column will be actual. Your last column will be standards. The middle column will be intertwined between actual and standard. Okay, so this is how it's always set up. Actual hours times actual rate, actual hours times standard rate, standard hours times standard rate. The first two, so watch what I'm doing here, will be your variable overhead rate variance. Always. The last two, okay, will be, so the middle column and the last column will be your variable overhead efficiency variance. Okay, it's just easier to set your paper up and then you work through the questions that's being asked. Okay, so here's the particular problem. Shepherd Industries produced 4,000 tables last month. So break these problems down. All right, so they produced 4,000 tables. Next, the standard variable manufacturing overhead rate used by the company is $24 per machine. We'll label your problem. This is your standards. So it's going to be, your standard is $24 per machine hour. Go back to the problem. Each table requires 0.3, very careful, put that point in, machine hours. That's a standard. Each table, 0.3 machine hours. So one table is going to require 0.3 machine hours. I read on. Actual machine hours used last month were 1,170. Okay, I'm going to label it actual. My actual machine hours used were 1,170. Next, my actual variable manufacturing overhead rate last month was $22. So I isolate out in the problem to make it easier to answer these questions. Here's the first question. Calculate the variable overhead rate variance. Okay, so the first question is looking for the variable overhead rate variance. So watch me. I am going to read from my summary. I'm going to make my equation. Well, actual hours, that's going to be on the outside. Actual hours. And then I parentheses, we always know we multiply, but just in case, it's been a while for basic math. All right, my inside is going to be what's different. So my actual rate minus my standard rate. Okay? And that will give me my overhead rate variance. Now I just input my numbers. So I go back to the problem. What are the actual hours? The actual hours are 1,170. What's inside the equation? The actual rate, I look right from the problem, was $22. Minus the standard rate, look in the problem, the standard, it told me it was 24. Okay, some of the problems will make us figure out these numbers. They won't give us what the actual rate was. I'll show you in different problems how you figure that out. But this one gave it to us. All right, so again, I'm going to eye it before I begin. I thought my rate was going to be $24. My actual rate was $22. In this case, that's good, right? I spent less than what I thought. So I take the difference between the two, and the 2 is $2. And then I'm going to multiply it by my actual hours. And that equals 2,340. But everybody understand, that's favorable. Please understand that, okay? Because you will have questions on that, whether you understand whether it's favorable or unfavorable. And I went over why it was favorable. Okay, so that's your answer to number 1. Here's number 2. Now you're going to calculate the variable overhead efficiency variance. Again, I'm going to work right from this summary. Well, I look, what's different? Well, the standard rate is exactly the same, so that's going to be on the outside of the parentheses, the standard rate. On the inside is going to be the actual hours minus the standard hours. So now I'm trying to look, was I efficient in my hours? Again, the outside, I'm going to work right from the problem. The standard rate was $24. My actual hours, okay, actual hours, it gave me that number, 1,170. Minus my standard hours. Okay, it did not give me my standard hours. It's going to make me figure it out. All right, so the standard was 0.3 machine hours. How many tables did they actually produce? 4,000. So I'm going to take 4,000 and multiply it by 0.3, and that will give me 1,200. Okay, so 1,200 is my standard hours. Well, again, eye it before you begin. I thought it was going to take me 1,200 hours. In actuality, it only, so this is actual, it only took me 1,170. So this variance will be favorable. All right, let me figure it out. So I just subtract 1,170 minus 1,200, and that gives me 30. And then I multiply that by 24, and that gives me 720, but you understand that that's favorable, okay? And that's how you do the variable overhead variances, okay? I'll see you soon. We're going to go through a lot more.